because I didn't know this side of Joe. I went hunting and I had shot a deer relatively late at night. And normally when you shoot a deer, you know, they run off, you know, 50, 100 yards, and then you wait a little bit and you go try to get your deer and you bring it back, put it in the truck and do what you need to do. Well, I got out of the deer stand, I looked for the deer, I couldn't find the deer. Looked everywhere. So it was a cold night, I knew the deer would stay till the following day. So I said, hey, Joe, would you mind helping me the next day, look for the deer? He said, let's go. So I was like, okay, great. So we get in the truck, we're in uniform, and we get out in the woods, and I tell him where I'm at, I tell him where I shot the deer, and we're looking everywhere for the deer. I can't find it. We're doing loop-de-loops, zigzags, and everything else to the woods, just trying to find this deer. And finally, you know, we give up, and I'm walking out of the woods, and just like she's standing right there, this deer is looking at, just like you're looking at me right now. He's like, so I'm like, oh my God, it kind of freaked me out because she's just, you know, laying there, this deer. Well, it turned out I'd shot her through, you know, both her front legs. I aimed too far forward. So when I got even closer, she started running like this, you know. And then she'd pop down, and then she'd jump back up on her legs and like this. And it was sad but funny too, so you don't really know what to think or do. Anyhow, Joe came over, and this is the part that Joe that I didn't know about. He went primal. He did. He went straight Neanderthal. I mean, he was giving me these visual cues that, you know, like you see these outdoor movies and stuff about these wolf packs and stuff. You know, they look at each other, and one wolf's telling the other one to go around back, and, you know, you get from the back, I'll get from the front. But I didn't know any of the cues, you know, because I didn't get primal with Joe. Anyway, he'd come up and he started doing like this. I swear, this guy, his brow got bigger as he went primal. And he started walking funny and stuff like that. So, the next thing I know, he'd take off his jacket, and he had thrown it over the deer's head. And he had the doggone deer in the head. Oh my goodness. And he did this like he had wrangled deer every day of his life. Like he was a deer wrangler, right? And he had his hat on, and he's holding the deer like this, and the legs are flopping and whatnot. Now I'm standing up like this. I don't know if I'm catching or fetching, you know. What am I supposed to do with this? And he has his hat on. He says, oh, before all this, let me back up. Before all this, he tells me, you want me to kill her? You want me to kill her? I'll stab her. I'm like, who are you, man? I'll stab her. You want me to? I'm like, no, I got it. That's when he lassos the deer. Anyhow, he has the deer like this, and he looks at me, well, stab her. Again, like he'd done this all his life. He lifted it up, and then, you know, I didn't think to bring a big knife, so I just had this little. I was like it was like a prison shanking or something. But that's the story in a nutshell. And then he was like, well, I was pulling the deer out, and he says to me, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm trying to do my Alabama accent. It's not really good. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm pulling it out. He said, well, I normally just throw them over my shoulder. I'm like, really? I've never seen that. So he picks this deer up, throws it around his shoulder, and he's like this, and he's walking, and then the bladder releases on his head. So I got a good laugh out of that. What was funny is like the deer had aggravated Joe, because the next deer he saw, he whacked. And that deer, 20 pounds maybe. We went to the skinny shed, and normally you go in the skinny shed, you know, there's this hoist and everything, and the deer is all laid out, and you know, it's usually from the hoofs are up there, and the other hoofs are down here.
It's been talking in the
But with Joe's deer, the deer was about that big, and he had this great big Bowie knife. This thing was like a seminar sword, right? And the deer was so small that he had it like this, like it was a pencil or something. It was just funny. So my son, he said, "Hey, Mr. Joe, I didn't know rabbit season was in." So that's the deer story.
That's the deer story.
You don't remember the way I do.